everybody, and welcome back to the United Stand. It is the game of the season. It is the Manchester derby here at Old Trafford. Manchester United versus Manchester City. Red versus blue. Battle of the board. Pep Guardiola versus Erik ten Hag. And I know a lot of Man United fans aren't that confident, but form goes out the window in the derby, and we've got to get behind the team. We're here to bring you the build-up right up until Mark's watch-along and all the other matchday content as well. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We've got Ricky, we've got Faz, we've even got Sam. We've got a packed show for you today, guys, so make sure you comment down below and get involved within the community. But Faz, coming to you first, initial thoughts this morning, waking up, knowing it is that sort of game. A lot of people expected us to lose this game last season. We ended up winning it 2-1. How are you feeling today?
I'll be deadly honest, as the minutes get closer to the game, I feel more and more nervous and more upset, just especially this season, because it's just not going well for us at all. And I have no confidence. You know, last season we had that little home run going for ourselves. We had that, you know, that form, that counter-attack, that Marcus Rashford fire, and that's something we could have fed off, and that's something we could have said, you know what, yes, the boys can go and maybe do something, but this season I just don't see it. With that being said, though, I have thought about one thing that's popped in my head is I'm not actually as scared of City as I thought I would be. Because what City will do to us, teams have already been doing this season, which is walking through the midfield, you know, playing us off the park, passing comfortably. All these things Wolves has done to us, Brighton has done to us. So I'm not scared as to, oh, City's going to do something that others haven't done. It's okay, bless you. That City's going to do something that others haven't done. But it's just that City could do it to the point where they could end up scoring 4 or 5 goals. Are you okay?
Sorry, I've got something in the back of my throat, I think. Sorry,
Do you
everyone.
need a minute?
I'm fine, I'm
Sure?
fine. Ricky, I'll come to you next, but Faz, thank you for that. I mean, also thank you for the super chat, Faz and Khan as well. Ricky, I know that you've not really been a fan of what Erik ten Hag's been doing with the team this season, but the derby, it is time. How would you want to set up today if you were in charge?
Definitely with 3 midfield players who don't run out of position, without a shadow of a doubt. Probably something like, I mean, I don't think Casemiro's in the squad, is he? I'd probably go Matt Tominay, Amrabat and Eriksson, so that we've got 3 players in there competing for the ball and covering in front of the defence all the time. And I'd also like my 2 wide men to be a little bit better defensively than, well, certainly better than Marcus is. As defensively, Anthony, I'm not a big fan of Anthony's, but defensively he's okay. And we need to think about, I watched your show the other day, darling, and you know, hearing you talk about maybe Rashford could score on the break using his pace. I don't think we should be thinking about how we're going to score. We need to be thinking about how we're going to stop them scoring. You know, a goal can come in so many different manners that I don't think we should think this player has got more chance of scoring a goal than player A than player B. If player B's better defensively than player A, I'd go with player B.
Interesting stuff. I mean, we are going to bring you guys the team news as soon as we have it. We should have it at when should we have it? At 2:15 is when we should have the team news coming in for you guys. So not long, and we'll get to dissect it. I wonder what Erik ten Hag is going to go with. But Faz, expectations, no matter who's on the pitch today and whoever plays, I mean, you expect 100% effort levels. You expect every single blade of grass covered. And, you know, like I was saying, last year people kind of disregarded Manchester United when it came to this game. It feels like the same thing's happening again. Do you think, obviously Wolves took points off Manchester City. Granted, they didn't have Rodri, who I think is Manchester City's most important player, in my opinion. It's going to be tough to stop them today, especially with the rumoured Manchester City team. Looked very, very strong. But how do Man United go against stopping City? How would you be going about that?
Okay, so that's, okay, breaking down into tactics. Man City, they're very comfortable with making sure they stay patient throughout the game. They don't mind having the ball in and around, you know, the opposition's half and not getting something out of it straight away. They're very patient. They always depend on lapse of concentration from other teams. And that's what we need to be making sure we do most. Now, we could do the physical game where we try and play physical with them and try and bully them off the ball. But we're the only ones that are going to get penalised because the way they'll use their midfielders, the way they'll use Doku, the way they'll use Alvarez, who's been a very key player for them, now that Kevin is not in there, they'll find spaces if we try and be physical. We need to be zonal, not man-to-man. This is one thing that I want to put it out there, and it'd be funny to see how the game pans out. If we go man-to-man in this game, Man City will absolutely love that, because you'll get Bernardo, you'll get all the other players just roaming around and carrying Man United players with them, creating spaces for the other players. We need to go zonal, make sure we concentrate, and make sure we don't make a mistake. All we need to do is, in any given moment when we have the ball, Johnny Evans maybe, Maguire maybe, Bruno Fernandes, all these players who can play a long-range pass somewhat accurately needs to find Marcus Rashford. And I know Ricky said it doesn't matter who to score, and it's true, he's got a very valid point, but he's our fastest player. He's the cannonball that we have that can create something in a moment of counter. And if we have any expectation of scoring, then it has to be from a counter-attack. Young boys, for example, who scored against Man City. Man City were controlling the game totally, but in a flash of a moment, in just a handful of passes, the ball is ended up in Man City's net. And similar thing will have to happen here if we have any chance. I know you said Rodri is one of their key players, but a huge amount of credit has to go to Bernardo Silva. A huge amount of credit has to go to Alvarez as well, because
they've got brilliant players over the
Kevin
pitch.
made this team tick, and without him, they still look sharp. And pressure's on Man City as well. If they end up losing this game, it will clearly show that there's a way to penetrate Man City, and Kevin missing is actually bigger than what people think.
What worries me massively is Alvarez. I think Alvarez has looked great so far this season, and there's so many times where on the edge of the box we've just not tracked our runners, and they're running to the edge of the box, and all of our players are either too far lagging behind, or the defenders are in front, obviously marking in the box, and the players, like the forward players that's supposed to come back and do the defensive work, haven't done that, and there's players just coming to the edge of the box and having a free shot on goal. Alvarez is so good at that. I saw him do it, I can't remember when, but it was a couple of weeks ago, maybe the other week, and he just, as soon as he got the chance on the edge of the box, just stuck it top bins, because he can find the back of the net. So technically good. If we give them chances to Man City, they will massively punish for us. We've got to be on it 100%. But Ricky, do you see the game plan changing from Erik ten Hag today? Because we've seen in the last few games, I mean, a lot of Man United fans haven't really liked it, but we've had a lot of players playing really high up the pitch, including McTominay, basically playing as a second striker. It seemed like it was 4 or 5 forwards in a row, and then a massive gap in the midfield from the defence. Do you think Ten Hag today is going to change that and basically try and put everyone behind the ball to defend a little bit more?
You probably saw it on Instagram, a lot of people who were watching. I watched the game back against Copenhagen with Faz, and during that game, we actually noticed how deep we played when they had the ball. I take your point that we had a lot of players forward when we got the ball, which was where McTominay was important, by the way. He had the energy to be a forward player when we had the ball, but when they had the ball, he dropped in to do his defensive duties, and unlike I've seen on many occasions, when they've got the ball in their own half, it was very rare that we had somebody bombing forward to try and challenge them and leaving a gap like I've seen Bruno do on many, many occasions. In that game against Copenhagen, I almost felt as though we were practicing how we're going to play against Manchester City. If they had the ball 20 yards inside their half, they just let them have it, basically. Hojlund might press a little bit, but even him, not seriously. We just used to let them pass it from one centre-back to the other, one full-back to the centre-back, etc. And then it's only when they come into your half that you press them a little bit more. But even then, United were waiting for them to make a mistake. You know, they would eventually give the ball away with a long ball that go to the keeper or go out for a throw-in or whatever. So that we were really, really solid defensively in that game against. I know people might say, well, it's only Copenhagen, but you've got to practice against somebody. And I feel as though they practiced in that game. How are they going to play today? Interesting
point. I didn't pick up on that, but He's definitely interesting. I'm sure Faz could have more to say on that. Obviously, he rewatched that game, the first half of it with you. One other thing I wanted to ask you about today's game. Do you feel like the longer that Man United keep it 0-0, the better chance they have of winning this game? Because, I mean, you look at Arsenal, and granted, yes, Rodri was out of that game. He's such a big, important player for them, but they kept it in 0-0. City had chances, but they kept it in 0-0, and then they somehow got a deflected goal in like the last couple of minutes to win that game. You just got to stay in the game, don't you, really, with this one?
100%. That's what I'm talking there about, how we're playing. Let them have it in their half. Let's sit back. Let's be difficult to play through. The longer we can stay in the game, the better. If they get one, you know, we've also got to you know, if they happen to score one in the first hour, say, we haven't got to think straight away that we need to equalise straight away. The sooner we start coming out more, the more chance of them scoring again. So even if we go a goal down, I think we should stick to our game plan until at least 10 or 15 minutes to go before having a go at getting that equaliser. Don't get me wrong, you could, like we've just spoken about on the break or whatever, you could score at any moment. But if we're going to throw the kitchen sink at them, so to speak, that needs to be in the last 10 minutes.
You know, funny enough, you mentioned, sorry, just Ricky's, the game that I watched with Ricky. When you rewatch the game back, when people say, oh, I saw this and I saw that, you don't really understand it. But sitting next to Ricky for 2 hours, I saw
Gives you enough time to be brainwashed, doesn't it?
But it's not brainwashed.
I'm joking.
He's actually saying and showing things and explaining it to reason why he thinks Scott McTominay should be playing more. And I see why. I do see why. It is something that we should, you know, as a fan base do, is look at the mistakes that the other players are making rather than pushing a narrative into one, whereas Scott McTominay is hiding. And by no means I'm saying Scott McTominay is a fantastic player or he's our best player, but he's actually not the worst out the bunch. That is actually, you know, I will second that, because I saw Bruno making mistakes, Lindelof making, and me and Ricky just sat and watched it all through. So him giving man of the match to Scott McTominay, I can see why. I still don't agree with it, though.
I mean, no, because I can't agree with that because of the penalty. Because if Onana didn't pull off that save, that literally knocks us out.
It's a bit unlucky, though. I don't think it should have
League.
been a penalty.
I know it shouldn't have been, but I still wouldn't because he give it away. Because he give it away, which is just it's just
That's
for me.
narrative, then.
Yeah, well, I just think giving away 2 penalties in a row as well is he's just not on, to be honest with you. And if he plays today, he needs to be watching that because you just don't want to give City at anything. But no, honestly, I've found myself having conversations with people, and I'm like, well, actually, no, we just need to keep hold of the ball. We need to have right footers on the right wing, left footers on the left wing. I'm like, God, Ricky's really getting in my head here. But no, you are absolutely right in the sense of we need to keep it tight. We need to think about how we are going to stop City, and hopefully we can do that. I just hope the first 20 minutes we're not already out the game, and that's the big thing for us.
Make sure we don't get a yellow card and drop our heads. Make sure we don't give away a random corner kick, you know, unnecessary corner kick. Just stay composed. Use that Old Trafford crowd to your benefit. Use that Old Trafford crowd to make them uncomfortable, and it will be, because that happened last season as well. And we're paying tribute to Sir Bobby Charlton as well. I know Old Trafford, they've done something on the seats. The crowd will definitely be up for it and behind it. And if we can, like I say, nick a point or even 3 points, that would be absolutely massive. Absolutely. And we need to use that underdog mentality, that Faz motivational speech. We need to be using that and going at this Man City team.
Casemiro, Faz?
Big miss. Oh, I'm honestly, big miss. Big miss. Because the experience of Casemiro in big games, I know he's been shaky, but again, when he's playing at the level that we expect him to, we don't see that right now. And if only he was available, then yeah. Don't know what sort of injury it is. I don't know if anybody can say. But why is he still out as well is what's concerning me, because
he picked up an injury in international duty, didn't he?
But he's not the type of player to be injured for.
Well, he's nearly back. Ten Hag said it was a race against the clock to get him back for the derby.
Yeah.
Obviously, he just didn't make it. But I assume he'll be back for the next game.
But
Slow Spots News says, funny that the 2 players we want gone have saved us. McTominay and Harry deserve a chance, as they say. When the gas is cooking, keep it going. Interesting stuff. I mean, I don't think you can just talk about one game to kind of, you know, you've got to prove it over the course of your career at Manchester United, and you've got to be consistent with it. I'm really happy for the way that McTominay got them goals against Brentford, and the way that Harry Maguire got that goal for us against Copenhagen, and they've got to give you've got to give them credit. They've done really well to do that. But as a Man United player, I expect them moments, and I expect them quite frequently. So I think they need to keep them up consistently. But I reckon both of them will have a big part to play today. I actually mentioned a few weeks ago, I was saying, you know, when Maguire was playing well and he went out on international duty and he started talking about his record under this manager speaks for itself, and, you know, giving it a little bit, and everyone was getting, oh, why does he have to open his mouth and start saying that? I said, you know, it's all well and good playing well against, you know, Palace in the Cup, playing well against the likes of the Bournemouths, the Brentfords, but let's see what you've got against Man City in the derby, and I think this will be a really big game for him.
Bruno Fernandes is another one as well, because let's say you score screamers against Burnley, but let's see what you can do against Man City.
Well, he has scored in the last 2 Manchester derbies. If he scores today, he'll be the first player since Paul Scholes scoring 3 consecutive Manchester derbies, but apparently he doesn't turn up in big games.
Paul's done 2, I think.
We've got the team. So Sam, we're going to come to you for the team.
Yes, hello everybody. It's time for your Manchester United derby team that does not contain Sergio Reguilon, Raphael Varane or Anthony. They are all on the bench. The starting 11, I can tell you now, is Onana in goal, Dalot, Maguire, Evans, Lindelof. So that's Maguire and Evans at centre-back. Then you've got Amrabat, McTominay and Eriksen. And then it looks like Bruno on the right, Hojlund up front and Rashford on the left. Your Manchester United bench is Bayindir, Mason Mount, Anthony Martial, Sergio Reguilon, Garnacho, Varane, Anthony, Mainu and Hannibal. And then the Manchester City starting 11 is Ederson, Walker, Ruben Diaz, Stones, Haaland, Grealish, Rodri, Alvarez, Silva, Gvardiol and Foden. So that's Doku on the bench, Ake on the bench, Kovacic on the bench. And then obviously Calvin Phillips on the bench along with Rico Lewis as well. So your Manchester United team does not contain Raphael Varane or Sergio Reguilon, and Johnny Evans starts.
Sam, we can talk about that team. The chat is going absolutely wild, and I think a lot of us are shocked. But will you explain why Varane's not in the starting 11 from your knowledge as well? Because I think a lot of people are thinking Ten Hag's just chosen to take Varane out, but there is concerns with injury, isn't there?
Yeah, so what I heard was that Varane was going to do a late fitness test to see if he could play possibly the last 30 minutes. It doesn't look like he is going to be able to start this game, and he is on the bench. So maybe he failed that late fitness test, who knows? But it is confirmed that Raphael Varane is on the bench for Manchester United and Johnny Evans comes in his place.
I mean, I think there'll be one person that's quite happy with with that team in this room. I mean, I know a lot of you guys are absolutely going wild in the chat, saying how this is why we need to buy a centre-back in the summer. I completely agree. We're going to get toasted. I mean, Haaland running it, Maguire and Evans for 90 minutes absolutely scares the life out of me, I can't lie. Faz, initial reactions to that team. I mean, Raphael Varane injured again. He's so, I love him to bits, but this is why I said when we spoke about captaincy, absolutely not. He's so unreliable. He's fit one game, injured the next. He can't make it through 2 consecutive games.
Said the same thing about Varane last season, that he can't be our starting centre back, and people in the chat had an absolute meltdown over it, and long behold that's the case. But part of me is really upset with Erik Ten Hag. I'm not going to lie, very, very upset. But then part of me is also, he doesn't have any choice in the back line, and he's almost he's almost talked his way out of being criticised, because only last press conference he said that, we don't have a regular back line, which doesn't allow us to play the type of football that we want. I know I'll mention in the forum when he mentioned the quotes. So he's almost talked himself out of it. Varane, Reguilon, Luke Shaw, Bissaka not being fit, it's the situation we're in. But no Mason Mount starting yet again, if I'm not mistaken, right? And then he's put Anthony on the bench as well. He's put Bruno on the right wing, and Bruno in the right wing is going to be criminal today. And in the midfield, it's Scott McTominay and Eriksen, Sam, isn't it, if I'm not mistaken?
Yep.
Yeah, again, look, this midfield doesn't fill me with joy. It's probably, but then we're not looking to play out with the midfield. We're not looking to be creative from the midfield. I think we're going to, with Scott McTominay and Amrabat being in there, we're looking to lock up the shop and make sure we don't concede any silly goals and we don't get run through. I hope Scott McTominay isn't playing further up like he did in the last few games.
Can we please get the XI on the screen if we can, producer? So it's on the screen. Well, can we text Matt to get him to do it, please? But Ricky, I'll come to you straight away with that. I mean, I'm assuming you're happy with the Maguire-Evans centre-back partnership. I think you're probably the only one that is.
I would choose Johnny Evans above anybody. So I'm quite pleased that Johnny Evans is playing. I'm not surprised one bit, and I promise you faithfully, I'm not surprised that he didn't play on, was it Tuesday night we played? People said it was him that had a niggle that night. He was on the bench, and now it brings us round to today. I honestly believe that in the manager's mind, because don't forget, he knows Varane's injury record. He understands that he might not be able to play 2 games in 4 days. I believe he's deliberately chosen Varane in the Copenhagen game and Johnny Evans in the City game. I honestly believe that. I told you at the start of the season when we signed Johnny Evans that it'll be our best centre-back, and I think the manager's seen enough of him to believe that he is already. His passing's better, his control's better, his organisation skills are better. He's absolutely top draw, Johnny Evans. Now then, before we play the game and we might end up getting beat 4 or 5-0, please believe me, that could happen whoever plays. That's how good City are. So people will be on me, oh, look at that, look at that, look at that. We could get beat 4 or 5 anyway. They got 6 against us only last season at their place,
the problem I have with that centre-back partnership, which absolutely scares the life out of me, is it's genuinely like I could probably run quicker than them 2 combined. It's so slow.
Yeah, is Varane any quicker? I don't see it.
Varane's quick.
I don't see it.
Varane's not rapid, but he's quicker.
To me, he's no quicker.
I think Varane is.
I'd like to get somebody. You could probably find this, Sam, if you try hard enough. You could probably get the speeds of the players to top speeds of the players that they've run at in training. I've seen that before about the forwards. I'm sure you could find it, and I bet there's nothing to choose. I bet there's nothing to choose.
I think Varane has slowed down later on in his career, but for me, I just think he's more agile. I mean, I just think his composure and everything that Varane brings to the team always
composure. Johnny Evans' composure. He's absolutely second to none.
I'm not saying that Johnny Evans is a problem. I'm really not. What I'm saying is the combination. You've got to have a partnership that complements each other. I think the combination of Maguire and Evans together, despite the fact they did well versus Brentford, against this City team, it just does genuinely scare me. And I think everyone kind of has a right to feel like that. It's just nowhere near up to scratch. Maguire's done well, Evans has done well, but I mean, when you look at Stones and Diaz compared to Maguire and Evans.
You look at Stones and Diaz compared to Varane and Martinez.
But Varane's also been taking a lot. Varane's also been slowing the game down quite a bit. I've noticed as well in the games that he does play.
I've got no worries about our centre backs today, none whatsoever. And
you have no worries about the centre backs.
We've got 3 solid midfield players in front of them, which was the midfield that I would have chosen, even if everybody was fit. What a coincidence, by the way.
Are you moving more towards Ten Hag in now? He's picking your lineups.
No, because he's still got Rashford on the left wing. If he had Martial on the left wing instead of Rashford, we'd have a great chance in this game. But one player makes such a difference, and I'm talking about defensive capabilities there. Martial's positional sense when he's playing wide on the left is second to none. And I think Walker would have his hands full, certainly going forward, more with Martial than he would with Rashford.
How so?
I've watched Martial loads of times playing. I remember a game, loads of times, but I'll name one game. We went to Liverpool when Liverpool still had a great side 3 years ago, and Martial was tasked with marking Trent Alexander. He was on fire at the time. Everybody who watches football, 99% of fans just think about attacking. Martial, if you look at that game, he spent, and I studied it all afterwards, his average position on the pitch in the game was about 3 yards ahead of Luke Shaw. His average position on the pitch was 15 to 20 yards inside his own half. His positional sense and his brains, if you like, is way above Marcus Rashford, and we would have more chance of stopping them. And stopping them is our way to try to win the game. And no, it's a proper case. It'd be like a game of chess then. We've got to stop them. That's the main thing. If we stop them, somebody doesn't have to be a quick player, by the way. The more you're in the game and the more you do stop them, and if it's still 0-0 with 70 minutes gone, we will have, during that period, even in the first 70 minutes, we will have times where we're camped outside their box. Might only be for a minute or two here and there, but you could just nick a goal. I believe if Martial was playing instead of Rashford today, we'd have a great chance. And we haven't got a great chance because of that difference. We've got a chance, but not a great chance.
Manchester City fan for life says Ten Hag is looking for the sack with that lineup. I mean, I'm not a fan of the lineup, but at the same time, like, what do you generally expect him to do? Reguilon's not fit enough to start, apparently, and neither's Varane.
Can I come in
like,
on that,
what do you expect him to do? Play Amrabat left back? Like,
so far this season, I think it's a right coincidence, all these injuries, by the way. They're all sort of, not necessarily fans' favourites in Reguilon's place, but it's certainly a fan's favourite at the minute for left back. In my opinion, in the recent games that I've watched, Lindelof's played better than Reguilon. McTominay and Eriksen are both playing better than Casemiro, and Evans is playing better than Varane. 3 players are missing, all with injury. It seems a bit you know, the favourites, fans would pick
Varane's
them.
injured every week, so
But fans would pick them. I wouldn't pick any of the three. I'd pick the players that are playing. So either the manager's dead lucky, but I think there's a little bit more to it than that. I really do.
Carl Walsh says, hi Ricky, would you see McTominay getting in during the Sir Alex Ferguson years, or is your point more relative to today's subpar options?
It's more relative today, obviously. Well, it depends which years you're talking about. He certainly wouldn't have got in when we had Keane and Scholes. There's one or two other teams he'd have had more chance of getting in under Ferguson.
You know, as weak are sounding about our team, Man City also have a weakness. Let's not act like they don't. They do have a weakness.
Go on.
John Stones.
John Stones is a very, very good player.
Okay, he's a great player. No denying that. But there is way of making sure you catch him off guard, and he's one of their weak links. And I tell you why.
I don't think he is.
Okay, who's their weak link in your opinion?
I don't think they have weak links.
Okay, I totally disagree. Every team has a weak link. John Stones is the weakest link in Man City, and I'll tell you why. When John Stones is playing just slightly higher up around the midfield position, and in any transition moment when he's got to track back and follow his runner to come in line with the centre-backs, notice how John Stones always is slower and is off his position, and he almost looking left and right like, who am I supposed to mark? In any given moment, if Man United find themselves in a attacking phase where we can find the ball in behind or over the top to Rashford, or in that half space in their half where John Stones is covering between the midfield and the centre-back area, then that is the position that we can be actually utilising and scoring. And Martial would have played that position if he was on the left. And Martial's very technically good, great with the ball on his feet, and he would have been able to make a meal out of John Stones. John Stones is a great player, but I don't want to. No team at all has absolute zero weakness. And out of all the great players that City have, John Stones is the weakest one. And obviously, if they have Kyle Walker, then they'll use Kyle Walker and John to block out that half space, make sure the attacking forwards don't get in.
I actually think, personally for me, I think John Stones is one of City's better players. I think he's brilliant. I think he's one of the best centre backs. I think he's absolutely brilliant. I think that role he plays, he does it really well. But I mean, I hope he has a bad game, and I really do hope you're right. Adam Farmy says Varane's one of my favourites, but the centre backs aren't the biggest problem today. Should be Mount/Anthony for Bruno, and literally anyone instead of Marcus. Interesting point. This is an interesting one for you. Obviously, we saw that Varane and Reguilon were with the Man United squad upon entry. We are right on that, aren't we? But it's just been put out by Rob Dawson, ESPN, that Casemiro, Varane and Sergio Reguilon are not with the Man United squad. So I think there was maybe a late fitness test for Varane and Reguilon that maybe
None
they
of them
pass.
are even on the bench.
Are they on the bench? Do we know?
Yeah, they are.
Oh, so they are on the bench.
He just said not with the squad, didn't he?
Yeah, we just got told he weren't from the squad from Rob Dawson, so maybe that's wrong. But but Varane and Reguilon are definitely on the bench. I just must have read a bit of mispieced information there, but interesting stuff. Mo Abdallah says, good morning from Toronto, guys. I'm starting to lose patience with our fitness and physio team. Never seen injuries at United this bad. Unreal. Here's an interesting point for you all. I was out with my friend on Friday night. We went to the cinema. My friend is a physio. She's, gone through everything to become a physio, and she knows a lot of people, obviously, in the injury industry. She's done placements and everything, and she said anybody who's anybody in that industry doesn't want to touch United, don't want to go near it, because they said all of the equipment is way out of date. They don't have the latest stuff. They said Man City's is like state of the art. They've got all the latest equipment, and physios get blamed a lot in Manchester United when in reality they've just not really got the equipment to be keeping up with the times. And she said that her family's like big United fans. Her dad's a big United fan. He actually watches the channel, and she said to us like, there's no wonder there's so many injuries, because everything she hears coming out of United is that we are light years behind everybody else. Apparently, this is what I got told. So again, it's just frustrating. The team has been confirmed that is on your screen as well. And can somebody actually send me the bench? Because I want to talk to you quickly, Faz. I have a friend who's a City fan, and they actually have got quite good ball knowledge, but it's a shame that they're a City fan, but they are literally die-hard City fan. And he was texting me saying, do you think Garnacho will start? And I was like, no, he won't. It will be Rashford. And he said, well, I'm happy about that. He said, Garnacho really scares me. Like, I think he's so good. I think he's underused. Do you think Garnacho has a role to play in today's game?
Yeah, most definitely. If things don't work out through Rashford, then Garnacho could be a player that we could definitely use. We saw that against the Arsenal game. We've seen little bits this season and obviously last season as well, that the manager's, trusting him a bit more to play a little bit more minutes. But make no mistake, he's also making some errors on the pitch, being able to trying to dribble past players, and at times he's trying a bit too hard instead of just keeping the ball ticking and then losing the ball. And obviously, yeah, he's running back and tracking, but shouldn't be trying to get yourself to lose the ball anyways. But most definitely, he's a player that we can use. Facundo's another player as well that we could look to use today, because if Bruno Fernandes on the right wing isn't working, I expect Erik ten Hag to possibly bring Bruno in the middle and sub someone like Eriksen off maybe, because he can play a full 90 minutes, and bring Facundo on and push him to the right hand side. So it'll be interesting to see how he makes that work, because by no means Eriksen's playing full 90 minutes. I don't see it happening.
Manchester City fan for life says, what is the City lineup? It's Ederson, Walker, Stones, Diaz, Gavardio, Rodri, Bernardo, Foden, Grealish, Alvarez, Haaland. I think that's their strongest lineup without De Bruyne. I can't lie. It's a really good lineup. Mo Abdallah says, I think it's Rashford. The time Rashford sat on the bench and Hag constantly picking him, he's starting to worry me, because I don't think we can even ever win the Prem with him. I mean, it's not all just on one player. Like, no matter what your opinions are about players, like, you can't just label everything onto one player. But I can understand why people are becoming frustrated with Rashford. I've become very frustrated with Rashford. He's got a good opportunity today to turn his season round. I mean, talk about Pellistri coming off. Anthony will come before him. I don't see Pellistri really getting any minutes, but I'd love him to. Imagine he came on and scored the winner after then comments about not being any City fans in Manchester and trying to spot him. And Pep had a little bit of his reply was hilarious, but interesting stuff. I mean, Ricky, a lot of people were saying, Eriksen should have come off the bench. Ten Hag's decided to start him, but something that's strange to me is he's £60 million midfielder that you would have thought he's bought for games like this, Mason Mount, benched again.
I've said to you many times, we've just got too many players. Especially in midfield. We've got too many players. I mean, you asked me before we went live what my midfield would be today. And I said McTominay, Amrabat and Eriksen, so I can't complain at the manager picking that. And I'm not saying Mason Mount couldn't do a job there, but he hasn't had a chance to prove it. He hasn't had a chance to play. He certainly hasn't played in a game where we need our midfield players to play like I expect our midfield players to play today. When he played against Wolves at home, didn't he? Even Spurs away, we didn't know at that stage how well Spurs were going to play for, certainly so far this season. So in those two games, him and Bruno were next to, in a nutshell, if you think about it, in those two games, we had one midfield player, and I can't remember back now, but it was probably Casemiro. I call a midfield player a man who defends just as much as he attacks. So when we've got Casemiro, Bruno and Mount, we've only got one proper midfield player. We've got three proper midfield players today. That would have given... People think, it's too defensive. The more you win the ball back and the less you give it away, the more chance you've got of attacking. I believe we'd have been better against Wolves with that midfield. We might have, even though it's more defensive, we might have won 3-0 instead of 1-0. You've got to keep hold of the ball, you've got to pass it around, and you've also got to try and win it back. Certainly in your own half, you've got to win it back quickly. That brings me to something that I messaged you about before the game. I heard the manager in his I can't remember if it was in his press conference, but I certainly heard him commenting that we are the team that wins the ball back more often, faster than anybody else in the league. I'd love to have been there to say to him, that's partly because we give it away so often. City would win it back faster than us, more often than us, if they gave it away as often as we do. We're winning it back quicker than the likes of City, Liverpool, Arsenal, even Brighton, Spurs. We're winning it back quicker than those teams because we haven't got it as much as they've got it. They haven't got the opportunity to win it back
because they hold the ball a lot
as often
more.
as we have.
Yeah.
We need to play better and not be so proud of winning the ball back. I'd be prouder of us being the team that have got the most possession. Or the second most possession.
I get that point. Joe Dawson says, I'll just do the super chat and I'll come to you. Joe Dawson says, defence going to get run ragged, humbling incoming. Come on, guys, let's get some positivity. I know that lineup is not what people wanted or expected, but we've got to get behind the team today and, let's try and be positive about this. Anthony Jory says, does Ten Hag want the sack with that lineup? People are not happy with the lineup, Ricky, but, I wanted to ask you about Bruno on the right wing. When are we going to be released of the shackles? I love Bruno, but I don't love him on the right. I mean, Ten Hag going with it again.
Yeah, you know, and this ties in with what I was going to say on Mason Mount is I am hell-bent that Erik Ten Hag probably didn't want Mount as bad as people make it. I'm hell-bent on it. And I said it during the window, I said it after he got signed. The whole thing looked funny to me, and...
No, I think he does.
Well, that's not how... this is not it.
I think
then.
he's just had to change the way he wants to play.
But you're blatantly putting the worst player on the right wing that you could possibly put. The worst player in Man United squad to put on the right wing is Bruno Fernandes.
No, it's not.
And
he's not good on the right, but he's not the worst player in the squad.
Who else other wingers are there that you're gonna put? Who?
I'm talking. You said in the squad.
Yeah, winger. Obviously, you're not gonna put Maguire on the right wing, but
yeah,
well,
that's
like a winger.
That's what I meant. To be honest with you, I like Bruno in midfield. I would rather play him as an 8 before I played him on the right.
Would you pick him today, Beth, ahead of Ericsson or McTominay or
yeah, I would. I would have saved Ericsson
to play that deeper role.
I would have saved Ericsson off the bench until I would have brought Ericsson on around the 50th, 60th minute today. That's what I would have done. But I would have played Bruno through the middle, and I would have played probably Mount off the right.
This stubbornness of his to keep playing Bruno Fernandes on the right wing when he has players there that could do a better job is the reason why I'm so critical of him, and it's the reason why I absolutely can't get behind him and the decisions that he makes. Nobody can. Not one person watching this show or anyone else can sit here and say, I'm behind the manager, knowing he's playing Bruno Fernandes on the right wing, when Bruno Fernandes on the right wing is abysmal. It's
very disappointing. Alan Noonan says, I back Ten Hag, but sometimes his changes frustrate me, especially today. Yeah, that's the same. I back Ten Hag. I really do like him. I hope it works out, but I would never have gone with that. Locke Exet says, good to have Mainu on the bench today. It is. And Vayabond, member for 29 months, love Ten Hag, but no Varane is utterly trolling. Bruno right wing, disgrace too. Our best player out of position. Just play him out there and play Bruno Cam. I would have done that. I would have done that, Vagabond. But also Varane is actually injured, which is why he's not in the starting 11, we think. Steve Run says the midfield is going to get dismantled today. Bruno is ineffective on the right. Everyone in the chat, we've got over 12,000 people watching live. Thank you so much. Get in your comments, get your thoughts in. I know everyone's nervous. Like the video, please do. And if you want us to cover any topics, get the super chats in and we will move on to them topics as well. Liam Allenbrun says Garnacho should come on for Ericsson around the 60th minute. I like seeing Garnacho and Ericsson play together. I think they're actually a good partnership. I've seen them in games play well together, to be honest. So I'd like to see them on the pitch together. Ricky, you had your hand up. You wanted to come in?
Yeah, just as Faz was speaking then about Bruno playing on the right, we've got to try and understand this. I've just asked you that question, Beth, about where you would play Bruno. We need 3 players today in the middle of the field. I said it before we went live, who are not going to get caught out of position, who are not going to run forward too often. That's why I said before the game I'd have McTominay, I'd have Amrabat, I'd have Ericsson. That's what the manager's chosen. I agree with him. He's spot on. So it's Bruno who's getting shoehorned into the team on the right wing. He's not playing on the right wing because the manager thinks he's necessarily better on the right wing. It's because the manager understands that the midfield is better without him, whether you like it or not. When we played Barcelona away last year, he played Weghorst at number 10 and Bruno on the right. You know, Bruno is a player who gets caught out of position too often, and although I've just said before, by the way, when we watched the Copenhagen game. In fact, that leads me into it perfectly. When we watched the Copenhagen game the other night, me and Faz, we noticed how we had 5 men across the field and we weren't pushing forward, trying to nick the ball. So although Bruno did that well on the night, it's not his natural game. I'm a great believer in playing players who are in a position that's natural to them. And it's natural for McTominay not to get caught out of position, and Amrabat and Ericsson. So I think we've got more chance of getting a result out of this with that midfield. And obviously the manager thinks that.
I hope you're right.
Well, obviously he thinks that. Look, they'll probably beat us, but look, there's no point beating about the bush. They'll probably beat us anyway. Fingers crossed they don't. But he's playing Bruno on the right for the simple reason that he doesn't feel as though he fits into the midfield for this game. That's all.
I think he's had to find a way to get Ericsson in there because of the way Eriksen's been playing. I still would have played Eriksen off the bench, I can't lie. I think that's a mistake. I think we should have saved him until the second half, because why change something that's working so well? Eriksen's been playing...
It ain't working that well, Beth,
Eriksen,
we haven't been playing well, have we?
No, Eriksen coming off the bench.
Oh, that's
what I meant.
That's been working
no,
well, yeah.
not the team before it, but I'm saying
well.
him coming off the bench to change the game has been working so well. I don't see why you change that. Also, I mean, I get why McTominay is playing in this game because of for the lack of options in regarding defensive midfielders with some physicality. But again, I am shocked about Mount. Denmark says, just wanted to say, Beth, you do a professional job. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much for that super chat. Faz, huge, enormous game for Andre Onana today.
Yeah.
Like, it is monumental. He has to play well because he's going to get peppered.
Yeah, for sure. Today we're going to see the goalkeeping side, the actual bread and butter of being a goalkeeper from Andre Onana. And look, I can already envision moments where people will now start arguing, saying he should have saved that, he couldn't have saved that, you know, all of these moments. But one thing for sure, I'm not going to expect any ball playing scenarios from him, because we're not going to get in those situations. I don't see it. It would be nice, though. It would be nice to see him be a bit confident and not get scared from that Haaland press, because he said that before, hasn't he? In an interview before, that I don't fear anyone who's Haaland. So, well, that's your goalkeeper. He said that. So I hope he can have that in him. I don't know if David De Gea is in the stadium. I said that as well. I hope David De Gea is in the stadium and pile on all the pressure, because if he can come out of it and he has a really good performance, then we definitely are going in the right direction. And these are the type of games, these are the type of moments that you need to be performing in when you're wearing a Man United shirt. It's never going to get easier. It's only going to get bigger and harder. But as I was saying, I'd love for him to carry the ball a little bit, take the pressure on from Evans and Maguire. But you can already imagine Evans, with no disrespect to Ricky or Ryan, but Evans is going to look at Onana and say, I don't want it. Kick it up long. I don't want it. And Evans has done that on the pitch. You've seen Evans do that. He says, I don't want it. Hoof it up. And you're going to see a whole lot of hoof ball today with Maguire as well. Real Life says he did it in the Champions League final, but let's see if he can do it for us. I mean... That's a very silly comparison, I'll be honest. Ricky. Very silly comparison. Totally different 10 players on the pitch. Oh, that's what I was... And a lot of them can hold the ball down, carry the ball, bring it down from the air. We have none of that. Well, that's what I was going to say. I mean... People base it all off Onana's performance, but you've got to look at the players around him. It was probably a lot easier for him to do it in the Champions League final with the Inter Milan team, who was very familiar with, and that were more consistent than us then, and had a kind of a better structure than us. I mean, it's very disjointed, this team, but huge game for Onana today, absolutely huge. I mean, this is an interesting point that I wanted to bring up into the show. And it is that Johnny Evans is starting in a Manchester derby for the first time since in 2012, when Robin van Persie scored the winner at the Etihad, and it's his first home game in a Manchester derby since being sent off in the 6-1 defeat when Mario Balotelli unveiled his Why Always Me t-shirt. So, I mean, hopefully he has a better game than he had last time, getting sent off and losing 6-1. I mean, please. But, Ricky, I'll come to you next. I mean, looking across the front line, Hojlund in is striker. We expected it, but obviously you're a big fan of Martial and he did such a good job on Rodri in the last game. How do you expect Hojlund to approach it? Do you think it'll be similar to Martial, or do you think it'll be different? It will be similar, I think. As I've mentioned a couple of times already, I think we will set up like we set up the other night when they've got the ball. I think we'll have a string of 5 across the midfield, and Hojlund slightly ahead of that. So it will be his job to try and sort of stay in between the centre-backs, City's centre-backs and Rodri. That'll be his job, and hopefully he can do it anywhere near as well as Martial did it last time. Sassin Paul says, if it was Ollie putting out this lineup, Mark and the rest of the Ten Hag followers would be up in arms. Shambolic insisting on benching a £55 million player. Slow Sports News says, Onana man of the match for me, pressure is on. I mean, keep piling it on. Mario Cabrera says, I know we are being critical of Bruno on the right, but Bruno is Ten Hag's captain. He's put himself in a position where he has to play. Daryl Hanley says, say strong, Beth. Bruno isn't a winger either, you're right, but there are so many other players that could be worse. Ashley Haynes, super chat as well. Thank you very much for that. Shall we move on to our players to watch in today's game, Faz? Yes, please. I don't even remember. I don't even remember who you put, but I've got it up coming up now. So, your first player to watch was actually Varane.
but he's injured.
Yeah.
You predicted a Varane goal today.
I did, yeah.
Maybe he comes off the bench and does it, but your other player to watch was Marcus Rashford.
Yeah.
Explain why.
Pace, lack of form, MR10, face of Manchester United. He loves to score in big games. He's done that before. Pressure's on him this season. He's got a big contract, you know, and he has to be that player to carry us forward. And when we play the type of football that Marcus Rashford and Bruno Fernandes are good at, that's when we look like we're going to score goals. We've done that this season. We just did that the last game in the later stage of the second half in Copenhagen, when we changed our tactics to playing a bit more counter-attacking and using that pace. We got through on goal, using Garnacho, using Scott McTominay as well. Those are the type of football that we need to be playing today, and that's why I picked Marcus Rashford, because if anybody's got any chance of scoring, it's probably Hojlund or Rashford running in behind on a counter-attack.
Someone said Martial is more reliable than Varane these days, which is...
Martial actually has made every single matchday squad this season.
Crazy. It's because he's not obviously playing as many minutes, but I like the fact he's being kind of managed. I wish he played a little bit more still, to be honest with you. Ricky, have you got any players to watch that you'd want to bring in, particularly?
Johnny Evans.
It's a good shout.
I mean, if that, you know what, if that, you are right in the sense of no matter who played, it would have been an insanely hard game. And this is why I say to people, you know, people saying, oh, Ten Hag out because of that lineup, or Ten Hag out if we lose today. Like, any team in the world would struggle against this Manchester City team. Like, Real Madrid could rock up here today in the form that they're in and probably still struggle against City to get anything out of them. Like, it is going to be an extremely tough game no matter what and no matter who plays. But if Maguire and Evans today can put in a good performance, then they have a lot of respect from me. They really do. But I'm worried looking at it. I've got to be honest.
But him not starting Mason Mount is also just
weird.
As bad.
It's weird.
It's not weird. It's bad. You've spent a huge amount of money.
It's because I think it's because he wanted to play a style of football, and that's why he brought Mount in.
What style of football?
He's had to kind of shift away from it.
Well, why?
You wants to play that high press.
If you know that you're not going to be playing that style of football, and the window wasn't going that way, don't spend that money on him.
I mean, he was our first signing.
Well, he knew the window was not going to go that way.
I don't know if he did.
Amrabat, Mount, we got every player.
We should have bought a centre back.
Other than a centre back, we got every player we wanted.
But he wanted to buy Kim and Jay. He then wanted to buy Pavard. He wanted to buy Todibo.
He's not going to get all three. He was going to get one of the.
No, but he was trying. He kept going down the pecking
order. And now
order.
he doesn't have Martinez. Right?
Yeah, he's injured again.
But that doesn't still factor in why you can't play Mason Mount, because you're playing everybody else.
It's strange. It is very strange. My first player to watch was Rasmus Hojlund. First Premier League goal, if he scores today, and what an occasion it would be. I've really liked his character since he came in. I really like what he gives the team. I like his energy. He's raw. He's got things to improve, of course he does, but I really do think there is a top player in there eventually, and I hope he has the similar instructions to what Martial had last year in the derby, and he can do a similar type of job on Rodri, because that would be super important. Cutting off Rodri's passing lanes, he's absolutely huge in minimalising the risk of Man City. They still got risk all over the pitch, but it is absolutely huge. And that's why they had the record of they didn't win a game while Rodri was out of the team. And City always win. It's no coincidence at all. My other player to watch was Bruno Fernandes. Reason being is I think he has underperformed so far this season. Being one of my favourite players at Manchester United, if not my favourite player, I can admit he has underperformed. I mean, what a game it would be to kind of step up, and he has to step up. He's captain. And if he scores, not saying to have a good performance you have to score, but to score today, being the first player to score in 3 consecutive Manchester derbies after Paul Scholes is a good achievement for him. And I think when Bruno is on form, he can be super influential. And I think it's a big game for him, because he can't have the moments that he's been having recently where he's just booting the ball away, giving the ball away, because if he does that against his City team, we will get caught out and we will get punished. He can't do it today. It's, you know, the opposition we're against will absolutely slice through us on the counter-attack, and they can punish us. So I think he's got to be disciplined. I think he's got to show a different side to his game, and I'm excited to see the way he goes about things, but fingers crossed it's a good performance.
Yeah, I don't expect much from Rasmus, I'll be very honest. I really stay off his back because he's so young, and obviously the price tag is something that's going to get always mentioned, but I don't want to think about that as well. He's got great attributes, he's got a great mentality, he's got a great heart, and he's so energetic, runs a lot, presses the goalkeepers a lot. and we just wanna stay behind him. But go on, sorry.
Really interesting stuff, Ricky. Erik ten Hag's just told MUTV that the reason why Evans and Lindelof are starting are for tactical reasons.
I rest my case.
I mean, Lindelof starting at left back, I think it's understandable. I think
so it's a bit like saying Varane's not really injured.
Reguilon didn't look at the races
and
against
Reguilon
Copenhagen.
Could have played, and Varane could have played.
But this tactical decision is going to get found out just because he's saying
Varane
it.
was great against Copenhagen.
Just because he's saying it doesn't mean it's the right decision.
Found out fast, because if we get beat 4-0, we'll never know if we'd have got beat 4-0
I know.
anyway. We'll never know.
I know.
They're that good. But
the tactics wouldn't work anyways if Varane was playing, because Varane held 7 against Liverpool, so it's the same. The same.
I mean,
tactical suicide, someone said.
Absolutely crazy. I mean, looking at the bench, you've got Bayndé, Mount, Martial, Reguilon, Garnacho, Varane, Antony, Mainu, Hannibal. I mean, Faz, already looking at that bench, who are you looking to bring on to influence this game?
Beth, you put me in a predicament here.
He ain't going to get that bit right.
It's in-game management.
Should be Martial, but it'd probably be Garnacho.
I'd love to see Martial and Hojlund play together again.
It's not going to happen. Not going to happen. He's probably going to bring off Rasmus for Martial and bring off Eriksen for Facundo or someone. And
please, can someone clip that bit up of Ricky just being like, and what, everyone, and what is absolutely hilarious. I mean, let's start with you guys in the chat. Get in the chat your score predictions. I mean, we'll talk about our score predictions. I want to be positive. I also don't want to be delusional. Ricky, I feel like you're probably going to be the most level-headed on this one. What is your score prediction for the game?
Look, I'd be more than happy to take a draw. I've already said to you once, haven't I, this week, a 2-0 defeat. Look, if I'm being deadly genuine, I'll say we'll get beat by the odd goal. 1-0 we'll get beat.
1-0?
Yeah, I hope I'm wrong.
I hope you're wrong as well, Faz.
I've just got to speak with my head rather than my heart.
Manchester City 3, Manchester United 1.
You were telling me we were going to win all week.
Yeah, it's done for me, because I haven't forgotten the mistakes that Harry Maguire's got in him, and I haven't forgotten the mistakes that Lindelof's got in him, as much as he's been doing really well end of last season and this season so far he's been doing okay. I haven't forgot the mistakes that Onana's made
but you're assuming they're going to make those mistakes today, Faz, aren't you?
They'll have to prove me wrong. They'll have to prove me wrong, but like I say, the mistakes are so many that it's not easy for me to forget. And you know, Eriksen getting caught off the ball, Scott McTominay, not showing for the ball enough at times, and he's has again good performances so far this season. But let's see if they can prove me wrong. But I think it's 3-1 to City today.
Black Wolf says, Beth, as soon as I seen the lineup, I bursted out laughing and had to jump on this live. We are about to get cooked. See you guys next week. And Chris Katsinas, member for 37 months, thank you for that, says, Beth, kudos to you for keeping your cool while listening to these two. Lol. They've been spending a lot of time together. Ricky's been working his magic on Faz, but do you know what? After, I mean, hopefully if it's not a battering, I'm going to go and watch the derby back with you, and I can have a little bit of a footballing lesson. International says, the fact Erik ten Hag said that makes it worse. It's on him now if it doesn't work. Again, the team that we're playing is a seriously good team. No matter who lines up, it's going to be a struggle. But you know what? My score prediction, everyone, I feel like I can't change it from what I've been saying all week. But I want to. I want to change it.
Do what you want to do.
But I never, ever predict a United loss. It's just not in my DNA. I just can't physically bring myself to do it. Even though in my head, I do think there is a high likelihood that we could get potentially battered today. I am still going with a 2-1 Man United win, because it's a derby, we're at Old Trafford, you know, the crowd's behind us, form goes out the window, we did it last year, we can do it again, and if Ricky's right about Evans and Maguire and Lindelof and all them, why not? Why not? So that's what I'm going to go with. I can't predict a United loss, it's just not in my DNA.
2-1, you know.
That's what you were predicting, and then you changed it last minute.
I know, I'm sorry. I thought Varane is going to play, and Reguilon is going to play.
Anyway, and that's what I'm going with. Also, I've just realised Palestri isn't even in the squad.
What?
He's not on the bench. Palestri isn't even on the bench, I swear.
Are you sure? Because he's here.
I swear he's not on the bench. I've just seen it. No, the bench is Bayndé, Reguilon, Varane, Hannibal, Mainu, Garnacho, Mount, Martial, Antony. There wasn't room for Palestri on the bench.
Mainu,
So I think it's because obviously Anthony's dropped to the bench, like the right wing position. I'm pretty gutted about that, because after his comments in the week, I would have liked to see him potentially put his money where his mouth is, in a sense of get on the pitch. But I agree with you. Like the Plestry comments, they were funny, obviously, and I love the fact he said that. But at the same time, like, we've been nowhere near City's level for a number of years, and it's just the way it is, sadly. And we shouldn't really be giving out stuff like that. We need to prove it on the pitch. But it was banter and it's a bit of fun. But I want to quickly ask. Doku has been very impressive for Man City.
Yeah.
Doesn't start today. Grealish starts, which I was worried about, because even though Doku is obviously a good player and can run you ragged a little bit, Grealish always seems to have a good game against United, and again he scored last year, doesn't he? He just always seems to be up for it. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Doku not starting and Grealish starts instead. Like, are you worried about Doku? What are your thoughts?
Grealish is still just as good of a player, maybe not in the dribbling side, but it's clearly a reason why he started, because people say Dalot is not good at defending, and yeah, I can appreciate that, but it's
I think he is good at defending.
Yeah, I think he's decent at defending, but it's more so to see if Grealish could cut in and get the ball in the box and hold that width and keep the ball higher up on the pitch. Doku is a bit more direct, he's a bit more dribbling, cutting in, he's a bit more going down the byline, whereas Grealish could cross it with his left foot from far out. And I think that's what they're hoping at getting. But we've got two tall centre-backs, hopefully, that don't make a mistake and Haaland doesn't connect with the ball. But I think it's just also a bit of rotation, because Doku's played a couple of games, hasn't he? So it's just a bit of rotation for Grealish as well. So Erik ten Hag said on Eriksen, I don't know if did you read that out?
No, I've not read that. You read it.
Erik ten Hag says the reason why he picked Eriksen is for the extra pass.
Understandable. Like, Eriksen's been very good, and if he could last 90 minutes from what I usually see of him, I would love him to play the whole game. But unfortunately, when he has started for me, he's always tailed off after about 40 minutes, and that's at a push. So I hope today it works the way that Erik ten Hag's gone about it. We just need to stay in the game, and Eriksen could help us keep that little bit of possession that we do have, and that's the good thing about Eriksen. He does usually try and find a red shirt, and that's what we need from him. More football, like what Erik ten Hag said. Tony Cox, member for 37 months, today is going to be bad. Just got a feeling. Interestingly enough, all week I've had a really good feeling about it. I don't want to obviously jinx it, but until I saw the lineup. But I honestly have had such a good feeling about it. But I don't know if it's just me being delusional in some sort of way. City are now 5th in the table if they didn't need any more motivation after the results that's happened. Masgood Ahmed says, welcome to the United Stand members club. Faz, Ricky, I'm going to come to you for your final thoughts on this game before we head out. Mark takes over for his watch along and we head down to Old Trafford. Ricky, come to you first. What are your final thoughts, and give the viewers a little bit of something to get them positive?
My positive thoughts about it, people will think of negative thoughts about it, but I want us to stay in the game as long as possible. I'll be sat there in my seat from minute 1, and I'll be hoping for the first minute to go by with no damage. Then I'll be watching for 5 minutes to go by, then 10, then 15, then 22. And if you get to 22.5 minutes and we haven't conceded, just I'll be wishing the minutes away, basically, from start to finish. And then hopefully at some stage, that, we can stay 0-0 for a long time. And hopefully at some stage we can nick a goal. But you think that's negative, I think that's positive. It's the way I believe we can have got a chance of nicking a result.
I like it. Liverpool also beating Forest 2-0 at half-time, which is annoying, but here we are. They're dark horses, honestly.
Everton beating West Ham as well.
Yeah,
crazy.
Everton beating West Ham. Interesting stuff. I mean, Faz, give us your final thoughts, your motivation, your dressing room talk.
Listen, all I'd say to the players is, look, a lot of people don't believe in us to do anything against this City side, let alone in the season. But they come into our home, and whenever they do, we have to make sure we make it as uncomfortable as we can for them. The fact that they will be more comfortable can also be a negative for them. It can also be a hindrance for them. And what a way to turn our season around, because we said that so many games the season starts today. What a way to turn the season around and actually get the whole fan base together by winning this game or getting something out of this game. And we must trust each other, we must believe in each other and fight for each other. And for Sir Bobby Charlton as well.
I mean, this isn't a great start, but thank you for that speech, Faz. Really enjoyed listening to it. But Manchester City are unbeaten in each of the 37 fixtures Roger has played in since a 1-0 lead defeat at Spurs in February 2023. Oh, I'm nervous. I'm getting more nervous as the clock's ticking closer. I'm literally going to be like this in my seat, like hoping, like you said, Ricky, for each minute to go by without us conceding. It's unfortunate that this is the way. I wish we were going into this game super confident and that, you know, we'd kicked on from last season, but unfortunately that isn't the case. But
so weird. I was so confident in the FA Cup final. Going into the FA Cup final, I was so confident. Going into the one we played at home, when we played them at home last season 2-1, I was so confident. Just this season, the confidence has been sucked out of me. I just don't understand why.
I think it's because of our performances. They've just not been good enough. And so many games, Ricky, like you said, that we've won without really deserving to win them.
Yeah, it was the same last season. I think we were in a false position last season. I really do. I don't think we played well enough to warrant all the points that we got.
I am honestly I'm super nervous, guys.
How are we more confident with Wout Weghorst and Marcel Sabitzer on the pitch and today?
We get behind the team. Guys, thank you so much for tuning into the Build-Up Show. Thank you to Ricky, thank you to Faz, and thank you to Sam for providing us with the team. Half an hour till kick-off. Mark is now live. You can go and join him on the watch-along. But everyone, stay positive. Don't write this team off. Get behind them. Anything can happen in a Manchester derby. And let's just hope and pray that Manchester United can get a result against Manchester City. Last quick question for you. If I offered you a draw now, would you take it?
Absolutely.
Yes.
So would I as well. But we want to get the win. So everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. Go and join Matt now on the watch along. We'll have the final score, the forum. It's me, Ricky, Faz and Kev today. So hopefully we're talking about something positive. But thank you, everyone. We're heading down to Old Trafford now. Enjoy the game wherever you are watching it. Hit like on the video and hopefully I'll see you soon to discuss a Manchester United win.